As China stimulates its economy and the DXY falls, correlation becomes tighter and tighter. With this strong correlation, upper targets are to be expected. I have ran a historical volatility backtest in the daily time frame, which is exposing some very curious targets to review. Welcome back to the channel. This is ARCa, and let's dive into ticker symbol FNGR. Let's kill him, team. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. Let's go ahead and start off the analysis here with the CNYA correlation chart, right? So please notice that the China ETF that we've been looking at here for quite some time, that our man Sandman 130 told us about a few days ago, it has been gapping up like crazy, right? So please notice the strength coming in to the Chinese economy, right? So they are absolutely stimulating, and it seems to not be stopping whatsoever, and it is applying lots of strength here to the FNGR asset. All right, so currently at, I think we're about to close, just about a minute away from after hours close. We're at about 5:20. Traditional market close came out about 5:14, and I did see the price action eventually reach around 5:36 during the after hours. So very impressive upside coming in from the FNGR asset, and of course, a very expected upside, just like we've been talking about, right? So let's go ahead and move on to this very, very awesome closure that we were waiting for just yesterday. Please remember that we were speaking of today at market close. We were actually waiting for the 3-day iterations here to close for both the FNGR asset and the Chinese ETF. And the reason why we were anticipating this close was because of this massive bullish engulfing happening here on both the Chinese ETF and the FNGR asset. So please notice there, huge bullish engulfings happening on 3-day time frame. So this is absolutely looking good and definitely increasing the correlation here between the Chinese ETF and the FNGR asset. So I absolutely love what we're seeing here. There could be a continuation to the upside as we speak, and I do believe that there could be a very nice statistical setup of volatility versus momentum at play. Okay, but before we get to that, let's just evaluate what happened here. Okay, so this was the chart that we were looking at just yesterday. Very nice 12-hour silver cross about to happen, which would introduce a continuation to the upside based on this crossover too. Okay, so let me get rid of the moving averages and show you what we were looking at. Okay, so this is the Gaussian bands, right? These are the Gaussian bands. So we were just yesterday, we were speculating on resisting from that top side of about 506. We expressed that the higher likelihood would be to break out of this range here and eventually reach the top side of about 542. So we had price action came just shy of that, right? Ended up reaching 538 from the 542 target that we talked about. So now, as I'm starting to review, I think that I wanted to see why in the first place it didn't actually reach the 542, right? But there are a couple other targets like these tweezer tops here, right? So that would be a top side of around 540. So even still, it didn't really reach that 538, did it? So yeah, even this right here is 540. Let's see, 544. Yeah, so I guess, let's see the lower end of this target here. This was 541. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't think we would have been able to 541 open here. This is a close of 530. Yeah, really nothing is reaching that 538 dead on the money, right? So this was yeah, so I mean, this is 536 here, I guess, right? This is let's see, the closure of this is 541. Yeah, still nothing. So yeah, what I was gonna say is that if it averaged out at 538, it probably is because people were trying to sell at those tweezers right here at that 540, right? So it ended up averaging at 538, and then it actually came down after that, as we expected, though, right? We expected to touch down on our resistance here and then come back to start validating the newly converted resistance into support of this descending channel triangle. right? This is the right angle triangle right here that we're using as a potential breakout formation and support grab, right? So this is the support grab that we're getting right down here at around 503 to 504. Price action ended up coming down to a low of 507. I'm not saying that it's not going to come back down. I am saying that this was kind of what we were expecting here, a breakout test of this conversion from from resistance into support, and then a continuation to the upside. Okay, so the earlier targets that we're looking for, this would be one of them, right? Taking the trend line from the area of breakout, which we were already kind of expecting here, and applying that to the supposed area of breakout. So now in this case, that breakout happened here, right? So now we can actually see that the top side target of around 661 starts to become very, very relevant. Okay, and now if I were to be honest, I think, well, I'm going to leave it like this, right? But it would be an upper range as well. So meaning that there could be a focus here. So let me do it. Yeah, I see. There would be a 50% of returns there. So I would say right about 704, and you do have or I think I could put it down to the body. Let me try to be as precise as I can be. Yeah, because of this wick top here and this wick bottom here. So landing right near the body and this wick top. Okay, so now this psychological target would become the you can call it the focus, right? So let's just go ahead and kind of put it down like this. And now we have this area to look out for, right? So we'll also highlight it here just like this, so that we can have a good understanding over, or all of us can be in the same page is what I'm trying to say, right? So, okay, perfect. Now we know that this is around the target that we're looking for the shorter time frame. Of course, we still have some targets to combat here, particularly the 540 range to 570 resistance range, which would be the top side of the Gaussian bands. So what I'm thinking here is that, yet again, we could potentially make a run all the way up to that area of, we could also come shy of this, right? 639 to 661, then eventually pull back and start validating the top side of the Gaussian bands here before continuing on to the upside. So this does have some pretty frothy targets, I must admit. From the hypotenuse up here to the very lower end of the triangle, taking a trend line from that distance there and applying it to the area of breakout, which in all honesty is here, that takes us to about a target of 948. Right, so that's a huge upside. I'm not really particularly looking for these targets just yet. I am more concerned about getting over 540 to 570 and eventually touching this 639 to 661. I mean, FNGR does have the thrust to be able to push into targets like that, especially now that we are clearing the $5 range and closing daily periods upside of that actually gets us to potentially face some FOMO soon. Okay, so now let's move on to the statistical side of the analysis, where we are actually given some pretty nice targets. So I tried to do this in a rush just before recording this video here. But of course, I need to make sure to separate as much time as I can. So what I'm looking at here is actually a daily time frame setup of volatility versus momentum, specifically from the area of contraction, extreme contraction, right? So within the 15th percentile and starting an upside in volatility, or starting expansion from this critical contractive level. So I have taken note of every iteration where that has happened, right? Contraction into expansion paired with upside pivots here on stochastic momentum. So I have measured every time that profile has happened, right? I measured the duration of the iteration, the upside thrust, and of course, every time that the profile gets the upside correctly versus incorrectly. So from the total of the sample sets here that you can see now, right? Let's go ahead and go over the data set. So this is total count. So we have 20 iterations in total, of which 17 were guessed correctly to the upside. That gives us a pretty impressive upside accuracy of 85% with an average upside thrust, aka mean of 33.4%. I have not calculated the days just yet, but it's okay. We are actually moving beyond that and pretty fast. And I also calculated the standard deviation and the upper bound of the first standard deviation and lower bound of the first standard deviation, which is represented here by the bell curve, right? So the standard deviation here based on the mean is actually coming out to around 35.12% move to the upside, right? So 35.12 would essentially lead price action to the very curious $6.03 zone. So which is already kind of rhyming with what we were looking at here, right? So this is around the 570 right here. This is around the 639, so 603 being right about here. Okay. Which is absolutely confluent, and I will show you why. Take a look at these topside wicks here. All of these, right? So it is very confluent, and perfect touches of support down there, resistance right over there. So yeah, it is a relevant area of resistance. Okay, so now let's move on and look at the other targets that we need to kind of go over here, right? So now, speaking of the lower bound of the first standard deviation, of course, that's just a 1.72% move to the upside, which of course already got realized, right? So since the signal, this is where the signal fired at $4.47 at the opening of this red candle here. So now, giving a focus to the 68.52% move to the upside, that would essentially say that statistically speaking, we are set to make a move upside of the high of the recent high, taking us to around $7.52. So that's pretty high, right? So let's go ahead and take some fibs here, particularly from the current from the swing high to the swing low of the daily time frame. And let's see if we have anything there. So yes, I guess that 752 target is leading very close to the 2.272 at 794, right? So I mean, there's another way that we can do this too. We can get it a little tighter by just taking the single day's range. So let's see that, and take a look at that, $7.56 right at the 4.236. So geometrically speaking, yeah, I do think that we could be making a move up to that target there. Of course, we have to evaluate all of the points of resistances here, but in all essence, statistics are not certainties. That's why they're called statistics. But there could be a push here, a pretty impressive push to the upside that can lead the asset upwards of $7. Okay, so let's try to evaluate this as we move. And now we're officially closing our first daily closure upside of the Gaussian band. So this is definitely powerful. Okay, team, I love what I'm looking at here. And let's see. So from the top side target here was that $9. So okay, and then $7. Okay, perfect. You know what? I don't think I took the center of that would be curious. Let me see. The center of the triangle, right, which would be around here. Let's see what target that takes us to. I never did this. So let's apply it to the breakout. And let's put it right over here like this. And that's taking us to a target of about, what was it? 726. Cool. All right. So yeah, 726. I mean, this is the 752 top here, right? We have that 603, but yeah, 726. That would be, I mean, just I guess that's a resistance range. I'm gonna mark it off here. I'm just gonna do it. Okay, 726. Let me try to get as close as I can. 726 to the top side of the statistical range, which would be the 752. That's kind of the resistance that we're looking for. All right, with a potential upside wick to 786 at the 4.618, of course, but this is I guess this is what mathematically is being proposed here, right? So I definitely like what we're looking at here. And also, very important thing to touch down here: 1 day and 20 hours to close this monthly iteration, and it would be if I get this thing out of the way, right? So you can see that this is a downtrend, and after this downside, there is currently a hammer candle being printed. So this, after a downside, does present a continuation to the upside, especially since we are now, again, upside of the newly converted resistance into support from this macro descending broadening wedge, okay, which has some freaking ridiculous targets to look at first, but you know what, we'll evaluate as we go. Okay, but yeah, this is very powerful, and it is, in essence, suggesting a breakout play on a monthly time frame, on a macro time frame. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and just kind of focus on the RSI now and see what the deal is. Yeah, okay, perfect. So I think this would be the one right here. Okay, so 30-minute time frame, currently at support from the SMA 14. Let's look at the daily and in the 15-minute. Okay, so yeah, there could potentially be a bounce from this area here, but we'll evaluate that. And it's already kind of showing on the bi-hourly time frame as we're using this SMA 14 as a guide towards the upside. We are at a little bit of danger here for the immediate short term, that is, right? Not anything permanent. Is actually just the immediate short term bi-hourly, suggesting a potential drop. Since we are in the gravitational zone of the bull strength percentile, this would essentially bring us back down. We could face a support just like we did here from the gravitational zone of the previous zone, and then face that upside again. A little bit of consolidation with a slight upside pivot on the 4-hour time frame. Same situation here on the 6-hour time frame, looking okay. And please notice here that the 12-hour time frame, it does have a slight upside pivot and in the gravitational zone of the bull weakness percentile. Highly likely for this to get pressure to the upside. Now, as we move to the daily, we have a very impressive bullish cross of the RSI signal upside of the SMA 14, and the signal is landing very close to the gravitational zone of the bull weakness percentile. Yeah, this is potentially going to influence the bi-daily time frame to use the gravitational zone here and eventually succeed that SMA 14 over maybe the span of the next couple days here. Use the 3-day time frame as a resistance. We bounce back and validate the bi-daily SMA 14, and then we would continue onwards and upwards. Right, so now the 5-day time frame is absolutely in that gravitational zone, and we definitely have, just to remind you, we definitely have a confirmed drive of phantom regular bullish divergence in the 5-day chart. Okay, so this is 100% powerful, and we noticed it yesterday, and now it's in play, and it just started. Okay, so this is how we were able to tell that an upside was potentially coming based on macro time frame divergent drives. So in this case, divergence is the opposite. I'm sorry, in every case, it is the opposition of price action versus momentum. Momentum represented by the RSI indicator, and this is your drive that you're looking at here, right? A regular drive of bullish divergence, creating some higher lows and lower lows in the price action, right? So this is it right here. Phantom, because it's crossing all this price. All right, so I think that's a pretty good place to leave off here. Please take whatever I do show within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. I need you to do your own due diligence, and everything will be cool. Everything will be cool. But with that said, I wish you well, a very, very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.